Cowboys. For us, cowboys are American guys in bandanas on horseback, who rob banks in broad daylight, then they get drunk in a saloon, go out into the street, and have shootouts with each other. Cowboys shot at cowboys, sheriffs shot at cowboys, and cowboys shot at bandits. In reality, all of the people listed were gunfighters, individuals who earned money with their guns. A cowboy could also be a gunfighter, but he was simply a herder, a man who drove cattle. That's literally what the name cowboy means. They often didn't wear the iconic hats many people recognize, nor did they wear jeans. Many didn't own their own horses, renting them instead. Many didn't even have pistols, because a gun cost more than their salary. In fact, the probability of falling off a horse and dying was greater than being killed in a shootout. Cowboy movies popularized the idea that the Wild West was full of strong, white men who brandished their guns in every direction. In real life, a quarter of all cowboys were black. You don't have to look far for examples. One of the most famous cowboys was Bill Pickett, a black cowboy who invented bulldogging, a technique still used in rodeos. Another was Nat Love. Most cowboys were Mexicans and Native Americans. A man named Buffalo Bill created a show that toured the country. The show was called The Wild West, and the first stereotypes came from there, growing every year. In the mid-20th century, there was a large advertising campaign for Marlboro cigarettes, featuring a stereotypical cowboy, westerns and country music. People even rode camels in the Wild West. In the mid-19th century, the U.S. military purchased them because they could withstand heat well. This was even called the American Camel Corps. But when the Civil War began, the experiment ended, and the camels were sold off, while some escaped and lived freely in the Wild West. Kegs with alcohol. Dogs of the St. Bernard breed were often used for rescue operations in the Alps, helping people who were lost. It's said that when they found people, they carried small barrels of alcohol around their necks to warm the victims' bodies while waiting for the rescue team. This idea started with a painting by Edwin Landseer, who was 18 years old at the time. He added a barrel around one of the dogs' necks, inventing the story that it contained brandy. Later, other artists adopted this image, but in reality, no one ever hung barrels on the dogs' necks. The most famous St. Bernard was named Barry, who saved 40 people. His taxidermied body is displayed in the Burr Natural History Museum with a barrel around its neck. This myth still exists today because souvenirs and photos with rescue dogs sell very well. Even if it had been true, alcohol actually makes things worse. It only creates the illusion of warmth. Alcohol causes blood vessels to dilate, bringing blood to the skin's surface and creating a feeling of heat, but this quickly lowers the body's core temperature. A person can easily become hypothermic without noticing. If St. Bernards had such kegs, they would have been squads of killer dogs. Monkey bananas. In 1936, an experiment was conducted by Professor David Katz and his wife, Dr. Rosa Katz, to understand which food attracts monkeys the most. They observed 3 green monkeys and 3 capuchins, and bananas always ranked second or third. Grapes were always in first place. However, according to records, people believed that monkeys loved nuts, even though nuts were almost at the bottom of their preferences. In the modern world, it's hard to imagine a monkey eating nuts because back then, there wasn't yet an association between monkeys and bananas. That connection was created by humans. Before human intervention, bananas used to have large hard seeds inside, making them practically inedible. Modern bananas were cultivated where humans lived. Wild monkeys, in their natural habitats, only encountered wild bananas. Their diet mainly consists of leaves, nuts, flowers, eggs and insects. Monkeys, aside from their usual food, came across these human-grown bananas and happily ate them. People noticed that monkeys liked them, so they started giving them bananas in circuses and zoos. A strong association formed, and that's actually bad, because monkeys shouldn't eat bananas, or rather they can, but only in moderation. They're too high in calories, unlike wild bananas. That's why zoos are gradually moving away from feeding bananas to monkeys, since in fact, bananas can be considered human food. Chastity belt. The chastity belt is a special device designed to restrict access to the body, usually of women. Husbands before journeys or knights before crusades supposedly put it on their wives so they wouldn't worry that someone might fool around with them. It had to be worn constantly. There were special holes for relieving oneself, and this was unhygienic. They are depicted in medieval illustrations, and there are examples in museums, but they did not actually exist. Confirmation appeared later, an illustration in a book on military technology, written in 1405 by the German physician and engineer Konrad Kieser. The book described not only genuine military inventions, but also magic and non-serious objects, including this belt. The caption accompanying the illustration states that he recommends it to a noble and obedient youth. Another illustration, dating back to the 16th century, depicts a belt and a lock. People with duplicate keys are hiding behind the bed, awaiting the husband's departure. The husband is depicted with donkey ears, and nearby sits a donkey attempting to keep fleas in a woven basket. This ridicules the uselessness of such an invention. Not a single such belt has been found dating from the Middle Ages. Upon inspection, every museum example has proven to be an 18th or 19th century fake. Truth serum. In the early 20th century, pregnant women were given the drug scopolamine. In combination with morphine, it was successfully used as anesthesia during childbirth. Morphine partially relieves pain, while scopolamine puts a person into a semi-conscious state and makes them forget the process of childbirth itself. Amnesia, the state where you are still conscious but no longer feel pain, was called twilight sleep, or Dämmerschlaf, as German doctors called it. Eventually it turned out that it didn't work so well for pain relief, and there were also problems with the amnesia, so the practice was gradually abandoned. Dr. Robert House noticed that a woman in a state of twilight sleep suddenly answered a question that was addressed to her husband, and answered it correctly. This happened more than once, and it intrigued him. Subsequently, after experiments on prison inmates, he concluded that people under the influence of this drug speak only the truth, because they are physically unable to lie. For him, it worked like this. The suspect hears a question, and all the brain has to do is find the correct answer and send it out through the mouth, because the will and the ability to reason are absent. The newspapers coined the name truth serum, and everyone learned about this drug's effect. This drug did not gain fame in attempts to uncover the truth. Who cares how much it was used? The main thing is that it worked. In the 1930s, sodium thiopental appeared, an ultra-short-acting barbiturate that was used for anesthesia and would knock a person out in half a minute. Barbiturates, there are a great number of them, and they are used for various purposes, from sleeping pills and sedatives to euthanasia and lethal injection, but it was specifically sodium thiopental. Because of this drug, everyone saw truth serum in the movies. Barbiturates were often used to treat soldiers during World War II, for example for post-traumatic stress disorder, shock, and memory loss. The person would become very relaxed and more cooperative. This was called narcoanalysis.